It is Monday, early May, and welcome to The Exchange here. Joined by my good pals Charlie Evers, Marianne Michaels, and Fritz the Night Owl. And we've got a guy here from Fritz's past, actually a longtime friend of mine through the radio days, that's going to join us very shortly and be with us as a guest panelist this week here on The Exchange. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll get to that just in a moment. But first we want to be sure to thank our sponsors, the Ohio Neck and Back Pain Relief Centers, Scott M. Gray, D.C., across from the Marion Center between TSC and Kroger. Call 740-386-6580. Night Owl Theater, located on the net at fritzlives.com. For more info, email nightowltv@yahoo.com, and that's NITEOWLTV@yahoo.com. And Bucyrus Placemats. To put an ad in, call Wayne at 419-562-8473, located at 116 Wayne Avenue in Bucyrus, also on the net at bucyrusplacemats.com. And now, for the past few weeks, we've had This Day in History with Charlie Evers. We've abolished that now. It's a new segment. Get ready. Hold on to your hats. It's Fascinating Facts with Charlie Evers. Charlie.
And who'd ever think that in Marion, Ohio, we had TWA service here at least 4 times a day.
When was
airport.
this?
Oh, it was way back in 1950 when the airport first opened. TWA said that you could go from Marion to Paris in just 28 hours. The only thing is, not enough people bought tickets to the TWA flights and they left town shortly.
I wonder why.
And it eventually went to Delta and then to Lake Central Airlines. They were here a couple of years on DC-3s. Oh, that was something.
How many planes did they have?
3 or 4.
3 or 4?
The stewardess had to kind of stoop over in a DC-3, you know. There.
I can imagine.
Yeah. But that was a pretty good time for Marion. They advertised all over the place. TWA comes to Marion and just opened up a $500,000 airport. But I don't know why. People didn't take their airplanes. I think they were afraid of them. Maybe they wouldn't work.
I can't imagine there weren't a lot of people wanting to go from Marion, Ohio to Paris, France.
I can't either.
That seems like a logical commute. I would sell everything on that.
Hey, there was one other thing about Marion. Believe it or not, Colonel Sanders, the late Colonel Sanders, who started his business after he turned 65, came to Marion to learn how to cook chicken.
Where at?
At the LK restaurant. Cleo Ludwig.
Taught him how to cook his
Cleo that founded the LK, he was the L in the LK. He taught Colonel Sanders how to cook chicken.
Is that right?
That's right. It was on the south side of Marion where there's a car dealer now.
Have you ever heard the famous recipe KFC story?
No.
Oh my goodness, Charlie. We'll get into that. Oh, it's fascinating. We'll get into that later on. But right now we're going to head over to a good pal of mine. And trust me, if you don't have anything to do tonight, you're going to find something to do right now. Because it's the Flick Pick with Fritz the Night Owl. Fritz?
Thank you, Scott. And Flick Pick for tonight is like the other ones I tell you about. I try to find movies that aren't being shown fairly frequently on cable or on television. Try to find movies that are still interesting but may have slid into the past. The one we've got tonight is from 1964. It was a film version of a great 1920s novel by Sinclair Lewis. It's called Elmer Gantry. The star is Burt Lancaster, and he won an Academy Award for his performance as Elmer Gantry. Elmer is a man who theoretically wants everything, what everyone is supposed to want. He wants money, fame, sex, and religion. Talk about wanting it all. He's fast-talking, unscrupulous, lusty, sacrilegious, fun-loving, an all-round heel generally, and he teams up with a traveling evangelist played by Gene Simmons, who is moral, upright, straightforward, but basically naive because she kind of falls for Lancaster's worldly charms. And she's unaware how he is exploiting her audience and her followers for his own ends. Arthur Kennedy has a role in this as a newspaper man who's trying to expose Gantry's hypocrisy. And Shirley Jones, who most of you remember as the mother on the Partridge Family, great singer. She was a singer in Oklahoma. I think that was her first role. But she is cast as a shady lady, a floozy with a past, who was once in love with Burt Lancaster, and he treated her badly, and he dumped her, and she's become now a scarlet woman. So she's out to also help unhorse Lancaster in his thing. Does a marvelous, marvelous job, and again, she won an Academy Award for her performance in this movie. In her film debut, in a minor role, is singer Patti Page. Now in the 50s, Patti Page was a gigantic popular singer. One of her biggies was the never-to-be-forgotten "How much is that?" How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the, what was it, shaggly hair or whatever it was. My goodness, all these years, and I still remember the lyrics to that song. Talk about stuff that you should have forgotten and didn't. Anyhow, in the 20s, when the book came out, everybody thought it was an attack on religion, which in a way it was. In the 60s, people didn't feel that way anymore. It was just regarded as a great drama and a terrific film. Although in the 21st century, based on some of the scandals that some of the more recent modern televangelists have gone through, again, there's a bit of relevancy there. The movie is powerful, it's involving, great from start to finish. I think that you'll enjoy it. Elmer Gantry, 1964, Burt Lancaster.
Amazing. Sounds like a great movie to watch tonight, Chuck.
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now,
Although I saw it many years ago.
be a repeat for you.
Right.
Now, two things I want to mention here. Number one, Marianne looks great today, does she not?
Yes, she does.
Always looks great.
Always looks
My
great.
goodness, she is decked out today. You look wonderful, Marianne.
Thank you.
You're ready for May, ready for spring.
Yes. In fact, Scott wanted me to do something on fashion. And of course, I'm the only female on this panel, so I guess that's the reason. I'm not a fashion guru by any means, but I do have my likes and my dislikes. And when I was going to college, I couldn't afford to go to the colleges I wanted to go. I had to go to the college that was close to home. And I would work every weekend and every summer at a very exclusive shop called the My Ladies Shop. And it was a neat shop because you didn't go in and go through the racks and try to find something. You would be seated at a lovely chaise lounge, and I would bring out all of the fashions and show them individually to my individual customers. I would know what they like and what they don't like. I just loved that job. But the real problem was then I started to really like clothes, and I got a lot of my love for, I became a clothes horse. You know what a clothes horse is? A person who really loves clothes. That was me. But anyhow, I learned all about the fabrics and all about the styles, and it was a wonderful background for me. But as far as the fashions are right now, I wore this jacket because pink is very, very good this year. Very good. In fact, hot pink, and this is hot pink, is good. The dresses that are seeming to come back in fashion are the shirtwaist dresses. And the reason they're called shirtwaist dresses, I wish I had pictures. I should have pictures. But the shirtwaist dress is like a shirt. And even now they're wearing like long ties, like a male tie. And they come to the knee, or and they have the long sleeves, and they look just like a shirt, except they're a dress. And another dress that's very popular this spring is the trench dress. And the reason it's called a trench dress is because it looks like a trench coat, exactly like a trench coat. It has the belt that is comes over to the waist, and it has the double-breasted effect, and the little straps around the sleeves, and that's going to be very popular this year. All hems. There's the mini, there's the midi, there's the maxi, and would you believe there's even a micro? And you know what micro means, tiny, tiny, tiny. Those are the hemlines, and they're all going to be in style. The dresses, I'm not real fond of the dresses when they come up here. It's called the imperial waistline, and then they fold out. That's not the style that I like. I really like the classic look better, but a lot of people like those dresses. Let's see, animal prints. Animal prints are very good. Blouses, coats, dresses, pants, I don't know, and I like the animal prints. In fact, my sister-in-law, whenever we would go shopping, I'd always pick out something with an animal print in it, and she'd say, I don't know, you should go to a zoo, or you should be in a zoo, because that's all you like. She teased me about that all the time. Let's see, the prints are galore, all kinds of prints. Some of them are wild, some of them are dainty. Am I going too long?
No, keep
Scott?
going. Keep going.
Denim. Denim is in everything. I mean, you can have a denim dress, of course, denim jeans, denim jackets, denim shoes even. And, you know, the jeans, they're something else. You can go anywhere you want to go in a pair of jeans now. And, you know, they have the kind of jeans with holes in them, which I don't particularly care, but of course that's too young for me. And then they have these jeans that I think they're called distressed jeans, because they've gone through some kind of a process where they're very, very dull and very faded, but that's in. That's very much in. So denim is good. Shoes, the wedgie shoes. You know, they're real high, but they're solid. The soles are solid, but they are very, very high. They're very popular. T-strap sandals, and of course flip-flops. I mean, flip-flops are everywhere. And even Oxford pumps, you know, like an Oxford shoe, the kind of shoe that you wear that is an Oxford that's two colors, white, sometimes tan or white and black. They are very good. Handbags. Everybody has to have a super tote or a super handbag, and they're just in all colors, all kinds of leathers, and they're good. And scarves, you can wear a scarf, you can dress up a dress or a blouse and a pair of jeans with a beautiful scarf, multicolored scarf. So scarves are very good. Hats, even berets. Now, I don't know if you watched the recent royal wedding. I really didn't care for some of those hats. They were like really wild, but they were very expensive. Also, fedoras. Fedoras are going to be good, and wide-brimmed hats. Well, that's all I have to say today.
I'm all about the berets, Marianne. I have a beret, and every time I wear it, somebody says I look like an idiot.
Well, that's not good.
No, I like
Why do you-
berets.
Well, yes, they're very French.
I'm wearing a beret on this show next week.
All right.
That's the way it's going to be, because Marianne said so, so I'm wearing a beret. Now, as most of you can see, the guy sitting in between Marianne and I is a broadcast legend, without any doubt. Many years at WBNS. You might remember him from Lucy's Toy Shop. You might remember him from all his community activism, or just popping up on WBNS. It's Chuck White. Chuck, thank you so much for coming in this week.
Thank you, Scott. It's my pleasure.
Now, Chuck, the reunion today is quite big. Last week we had Dave Kaler on. This week we have you, and you go back further with Fritz the Night Owl than even Dave Kaler does.
Fritz was my college roommate. And when I tell people this, they say, "You're kidding me." No, he and I shared an apartment over on Chittenden Avenue.
11th.
On 11th, and
20
it's
East
called
11th.
the Miller
Miller
Arms.
Arms, yeah.
And I don't know, is that building still there, Fritz?
No.
And we had a great time there.
Kitty corner from Mo Glassman's.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Men's
Mo
shop.
Glassman's is no longer there.
Yeah,
but
no,
that-
I know.
That was a men's clothing store right on the corner of.
Yeah,
11th and-
very famous among OSU students at the
Right,
time. Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, we were college roommates.
Tell-
And actually, Fritz is the one he's actually responsible for me getting into television.
Well, tell us about that. That sounds like quite a story.
Fritz was working at WBNS TV, and he was drafted into the Army. My major was psychology with a minor in journalism, and my intent was to be to go into psychology and then eventually get into medical school and go into psychiatry. And so Fritz came home one day and said, "Man, I'm leaving. I'm drafted." He was drafted into the Army. And he says, how would you like to take my job at Channel 10? I said, I've never worked in television before. He said, Chuck, give it a shot. So I said, yeah, okay, all right. I went and I applied for the job, got the job, and that's how I got started in television. And we started working in the newsroom. That's where Fritz was working in when I started. And we were writing copy and pulling we used to get all of our news pictures through the AP wire. And we'd take these pictures off and put them on a cue board and laminate them to this cue board, put them on what we call a flip stand back at the time, and then that's before we had a great use of before videotaping was ever used and invented, actually. We were using 16 millimeter film, and we had one film director for news. His name was Bill Drenton. He's since moved on. But that's what we did, and we would help. Our job was to assist the two major anchors were Bill Pepper and Chet Long, and that was Fritz's job. So I took over that job when I started at the station, and then I stayed on, and then thought, well, this is not bad. I enjoy it. So 50 years later, I retired.
Boom, 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 and there we go.
But tell everyone what you were supposed to be originally.
Originally, I was going to psychiatry, and actually, and of course, my studies in psychology helped me tremendously over the years, working in broadcasting, as you all know. But yeah, that was my intent was to be a psychiatrist, and that was my father's intent for me, sending me to college to get an education to be a doctor. And he said, what area of specialty do you want to go into? And I said, I'd like to go into psychiatry. But as an undergraduate, I was majoring in psychology. I wanted to get that under my belt and then go into medical school and then become a psychiatrist. And but Fritz sort of twisted my arm, and hence, as I said, 50 years later, I retired from Channel 10.
The road not taken, psychiatry.
Yes.
How
right.
about that? Well, Fritz told the story last week of how Joe Holbrook and Bill Pepper sent him away from the law industry, the attorney industry. So these guys at Channel 10, these wacky guys, taking people out of multi-million-dollar careers and putting them in broadcasting.
And then there's people like you and I who were teachers.
We were teachers,
Before
that's
we went into
exactly right.
broadcasting.
Yeah. And that's been a pattern that's kind of run through.
Well, Dave Kaler was a teacher also.
Dave Kaler was a teacher.
Actually, my degree from Ohio State is a Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education. Majors in I was supposed to be an English and speech teacher in high schools, and again, actually the Army and the business got in the way. But of course, Chuck didn't mention how we went from the news department to multiple voices and characters on Lucy's Toy Shop. And he also had a musical show called Chuck White Presents, where he had some of the best musicians in Columbus who were on that show. And he also did he was one of the first live folk singers in Columbus. He used to do a show at the Gloria.
That's right.
And everything like that. So yeah.
Back in the days when the Gloria was still over on was it Souder River Road?
Yeah.
And then they had a stage that would rise up, and I would come up from on the stage, and those are great days.
Now, of course, we all remember Lucy's Toy Shop, and just amazing bit of history. I went on Facebook the other day, Facebook, the method of travel for all internet users today, and there is a fan page for Lucy's Toy Shop, something like 1,600 fans. All these years later. Can you believe that, Chuck? Did you ever think you and Lucy there with the puppets would still be talked about this warmly this many years later?
It's amazing to me because I still do a lot of public speaking, and every time I go to do a speech and people find out that I was Mr. Tree, you hear the oohs and the ahs all over the place. And when
Also, Pierre was very good.
And Pierre was my favorite puppet, actually.
Give us a little.
Pierre François was a French poodle. And he did the birthdays, and there was a birthday cake that would come up on the screen, and he would wish the children a birthday wish for the day. And the puppet's on my hand like this. And as he looked at the cake would appear, but if he took his head away from the cake would disappear. Well, the children at home would go, absolutely berserk, and they'd scream at the screen, Lucy, he's not looking at he's not looking at the cake. So she would caution him, she would say, Pierre, you must look at the cake, and he would turn around and look at the cake, and those were great days. But interesting enough, I don't think people know this. They asked me, how did I get onto Lucy's Toy Shop? There was an audition, and you know who my competitor was for the audition?
Who's that?
Fritz the Night Owl.
Really?
Do you remember that? Yeah, we both auditioned for Lucy's Toy Shop when we first started. And there were a couple of other people, I don't remember who they were, but I do remember you, and we were the last two. And John chose me.
Yeah, I thought that I thought I was in the Army I thought Lucy started before I got back from keeping the country safe for democracy. I think I auditioned for something on that show.
Yeah,
but,
you did. You did.
yeah.
I do remember that very well.
Baldy had good taste. He picked you.
Yes. Well, it was a good, strong competitor, though.
Boy, out of the closet here come all the secrets come flying out of the closet. Chuck, the other one I want you to touch on, just two more if you can do the voices, Dragon and Stanley Mouse. I know the...
But Stanley was Lucy's.
Oh, that's right, Dragon.
Dragon, he was the little smaller puppet that would grow up and get big when he got angry, and it was, ow! It was always, he and Stanley were the protagonists in the show. Wonder Witch, who also was done by Lucy, was the antagonist, and she would always we would create these scenarios on the show where they were all kind of had a moral story to the base to them. And but Wonder Witch would always get her nose out of joint, and she would create havoc on the show. And so Dragon would, ow, I mean, come on, Stanley, let's get rid of this broad. Well, we didn't say broad on the show.
I don't think so.
Chuck, tell me about Lucy. What was she like?
Lucy was probably one of the most talented human beings I've ever known. She was an incredible seamstress. Pierre was created, by the way. We were standing in the hallway. Each day after each show, we would write the next day's show, and we would start it with just the verbal repartee between us. Mm-hmm. And we'd create characters, and we'd have these situations for the characters. But in the hallway one day, I said, Lucy, why don't we create a puppet it's a French poodle, and it'll sound like this. It will sound like this, Pierre. He will name him Pierre Francois, and he will do something like a birthday cake or something like that. Lucy went right home, right to her shop. She had a shop, cut it out, came up the next day, and she says, there's your Pierre. And she gave me the puppet, and that was the creation of Pierre. The same thing was true of Lamb and Dragon. All of those puppets that came out of, some of them came out of my imagination, but the actual work was done by Lucy, the actual cutting out and creating of the puppet.
Where are Dragon and Pierre today?
Locked up in a storage closet, collecting dust.
So you still have them?
I still have Pierre, and I still have Lamb. Dragon has gone through many changes. I do have a version of Dragon, but now the life-size version of Dragon, I'm not so sure that Howie, who is Lucy's son, may still have that. And hopefully we're going to probably get that to the Ohio Museum.
Perfect.
Historic Museum.
We've got so much to talk about. Chuck's going to be with us all week here, and we haven't even talked about Flippo or Joe Holbrook or all these other great guys at 10 TV. Also, Marianne was a competitor in that market during these gentlemen's time. It'll be fun to reminisce, and of course, Charlie's been in broadcasting here forever, so I'm sure he knows these names quite well. Before we end this Monday program, Chuck, though, I asked this of Dave Kaler last week because Fritz is a panelist here. How good was Fritz at what he ended up doing, the Night Owl Theater?
Fritz was the best there was. I mean, there was no question about it. Chiller Theater. Fritz was the most creative host that's ever been on the air. In my judgment, and I honestly say it, not because he was my roommate, not because we're good friends, but as a broadcaster, as a fellow broadcaster, he would create these scenarios leading into and out of movies and people watched. Well, look at it now. People are still watching, going to the Grandview Theater in Grandview, and people remember him There were the images. Back at Channel 10 back then was Fritz the Night Owl, Flippo the Clown, and Lucy's Toy Shop. Those were the three major images that you can conjure up right now and people remember from Channel 10.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And I think we should mention this. They're one of our sponsors, but the Grandview Theater once a month, last Saturday of the month at midnight. There's a great Fritz movie. Go to fritzlibs.com in case the date or anything changes, but it's the place to be. They are great movies. A lot of returns have not been so great. This is a great, great return and something to do you're not going to regret. It doesn't cost you $50.
It's free.
It's free, a matter of fact. It's absolutely free.
Best
so
price.
You definitely want to get there. Chuck's going to be with us all week. We got lots going on this week. Fritz is going to be back. We're going to talk a lot about WBNS. Last week, the death of Osama bin Laden. How can we not talk about that? All kinds of things going on. Stick with us. We'll be back